Greetings and welcome to this week's episode of UC Weekly News. I'm your host, David Danto, and I don't know which one of us is Jake and which one of us is Elwood. We're getting the band back together. Look, my guest this week here in the studios, in our respective studios, as opposed to on the road like we were last week, is my old friend Neil Fluester. Neil, how you doing?
I'm good. I feel, it's like, hey, everyone, welcome to the weekly news, and we do shout out corner, and I don't know who to say, who's running this shop. You are now, I guess. So yeah, thanks for having me on. It's great to
Well,
be
AD
back.
Nation and the IMCCA are running the shop right now, which
Very
is
good,
we're very appreciative of them.
and we like both of
The
them.
audience has to find us, but they are starting to do that slowly, and we're all over the place. And by the way, I've owned the URL dantoreport.com for decades.
Okay,
I've never done anything with it, but you can also use that if you want a quick way to find this every week. It's really cool.
I love it.
So what have you been doing since we last spoke?
Well, since we last spoke and we're on a show together, I left that company and I joined a little company in your neck of the woods, actually, in New Jersey, called Crestron. I don't know if you're aware of them. They make high-end control systems, stuff for super yachts, homes, and meeting room solutions. And I'm the director of technical marketing over at Crestron, supporting the team globally around our UC and collaboration solutions, and it's great. I'm really enjoying it. Really, really different from the traditional old school stuff that we used to do. So yeah, it's very good.
That's wonderful. I mean, I'm certainly aware of Crestron. In fact, before you even knew who they were, I was considered a FOC, and I'm pronouncing that very carefully. It's an FOK, a friend of Crestron.
Okay,
for
cool.
many years. So yes, and
Very
that campus is like right on the New York New Jersey border. You could almost
It's in
throw
the
a
car
rock in
park.
either direction.
Apparently, one of the
Yes.
car parks in Volvo Drive apparently is the state line, and you literally can hop across it. It's
Right.
I didn't know. Yeah, it's amazing. I've been
Oh,
there.
yes,
It's great.
it's actually it's about an hour drive from me. So it's like really out of the north part of New Jersey, New York border, but it's really
Yeah,
cool.
it's
So
beautiful.
that's great. And so last week when we did the show last week, I
Mm.
was in Las Vegas for Total Tech Summit, which was a great experience. And our show last week, and it was very hard to hear because I was just recording with my iPhone. It's a real good opportunity to have one-on-one conversations with people in the industry. It's an Emerald Expos event run by Commercial Integrator. It's a great show. It's a great opportunity to get together and have one-on-one conversations with people in a more relaxed atmosphere and learn what's going on in the world and what people are doing. And while I was there, you were at Ignite, or are we not calling it Ignite anymore? We're now just calling everything Copilot.
It's Copilot. Yeah, it's the Copilot show. I mean, certainly it was colder for me than it probably was for you. It was very much British temperatures, and I needed my hat and gloves up in Seattle. First time in Seattle, but beautiful city. But yeah, chilly. But yeah, the whole frame of the show was around Copilot. Again, I think Kevin Keeler said it around the how many times is Satya going to say it, but every session had a sprinkling of Copilot in there, and Satya actually made a comment, and I'm not sure how much I buy into this, but he said Copilot and AI will be bigger than PC, bigger than mobile, and bigger than the internet. It's a bold claim, but again, they're obviously going all in when it comes to AI and Copilot in this world. So as we'll probably talk in a bit about some of the other stuff that's happened since Ignite last week. But
Yeah, exactly. And I Satya is a brilliant man, and I certainly respect what he says. And Microsoft's doing some terrific things in the industry, so no dig on them. But they were saying that about the metaverse too.
yeah,
So I think it's a time will tell kind of situation to see what's going on with all that. And then, as you point out, pretty much a week from today, or a week and a couple of days, we had the huge bombshell around OpenAI, where the board essentially imploded. Fired the CEO. Talked all weekend about rehiring, then quit, and then Satya hired all the brain power
yeah.
essentially to create a Microsoft AI lab.
I know. Again, as I said, they're definitely going in both feet fully in on this. And it's funny you talk about the metaverse. I mean, Meta were there at Ignite. They had a booth, and there was people walking around with a funky. I was talking to Mr. Arbuthnot and to Josh Blaylock from the show as well, and I was sort of trying to be less of a grumpy old man, but I was feeling old when it's all the kind of VR stuff. But they got this Mesh thing. I don't know if you've seen Mesh, and it's this kind of Meta playground. And I look at it and just think I'm old and grumpy. It's for the kids,
Well,
the
I'm
TikTokers
I'm
and
always
stuff.
going to be the What was the badge they gave me at Infocom 3 or 4 years ago? Curmudgeon of AV,
Yeah, you're going
CRLAV.
to be you're definitely older and grumpier than me. Well,
Um,
maybe not as grumpy, but
I do not see mass market value in AR VR.
no.
Just see it. And there are products that have been introduced and have been pulled back. They make fun of them on TV commercials now, or they did at least a year ago. Now they're not even mentioned. So I think it's a good concept for industrial use and for other. But I don't see that coming out. But
There's
AI,
use cases, yeah. Go on.
it's an interesting thing to think about what Microsoft did in bringing on a lot of the team from OpenAI. And it is a kind of a point that I want to make, and it's a bit of a personal point, but I'm going to be very careful how I say it because, Lord knows I don't want to get in trouble. It's interesting when large companies buy smaller companies, oftentimes they think they're buying a brand and a product line, and they're not. The brand and the product line is a slice in time. It's what exists today. When a big company buys a successful smaller company, what they're buying is the brain power that created that, the culture, the gel, the cohesiveness that made that company something worth buying. And a smart company like Microsoft says, you know what? We've invested in OpenAI, and now all these people are available. We want that brain power. They're essentially, just for the cost of their salaries and compensation, bringing them on board. They're buying a company without spending a dollar or an additional dollar. And then there are other big companies.
Do the patents go with the people or with the company? That would be an interesting one as well. Again, because there's probably a
The
load of patents.
would go with the company.
Okay.
But the people who created the patents are the value.
Yeah.
Not the patents themselves, unless you just want to spend time, suing people over patents. But and companies do that. Legal companies do that. But it's interesting when you look at our industry, which is consolidating, larger companies buying smaller companies. It's interesting to see which ones understand the value of the brain power and the people that they bought, and the ones that don't understand it at all. And there are some great examples of both of those. So it's interesting to see how it's going to play out. I'm sure that an AI lab within Microsoft, as they're going so all in on Copilot, is just going to be a win-win across the board.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's interesting. So you talk about labs. So on the Friday after Ignite, so Ignite finished on the Thursday. The Friday, I got to go to something called the Hive.
Did it have like bees and honey dripping and other things going on over there?
No, it was very kind of nondescript. To say it's a really anything building in the suburbs of Redmond, but it's Microsoft's kind of tech lab for all things UC and Teams rooms. And it's like a playground for techies. I was expecting this kind of really polished, customer facing, high end, and it's like literally just a bunch, like you say, the brain power are there, and it's just like a little playground, the little kindergarten. They're just playing around, messing around, plugging things in, trying things out. And this is where they come up with the archetypes, where they kind of create front row and created all of the integrate the room, what they call archetypes, which is like the different types of rooms. They have signature rooms and small huddle rooms and all this kind of stuff. But it is a lab. It is a toy playground. So it sounds as if there's going to be a hive for AI that again that they'll put together and bring that up. It's fascinating to see, because again, coming from a manufacturer, you kind of think, and again, we had this, that the all of the innovation is coming from the manufacturers. They're the ones that are doing all of the clever stuff on the cameras, the framing, the noise suppression, and all of that kind of stuff. But actually, Microsoft are doing a lot around that. And I'm sure other collaboration platforms are doing just as much. So again, this is not the Microsoft show, but it was just fascinating seeing that. And it was an eye-opener for me to say, okay, wow, they're doing all of this themselves, and they do have that. They're not just taking a XYZ camera or a microphone that already has, some acoustic, fencing and gating and all of that kind of noise blocking, and just taking that and running with it. They're actually developing that themselves in these labs and playing and testing this stuff. So it was fascinating from that point of view.
Sounds like an interesting experience you had of going looking around Seattle. So did you go to the first Starbucks, and did you go to the fish market? And
I did. Well, so I went down to the fish market, and I saw the Starbucks, and I thought, oh, I'll go. Then I saw the queue, and I'm like, I don't need that. The coffee's going to be coffee. So I saw it. I took a picture of it from outside. Like, been there, selfie. And the fish market, yeah, mate. And I mean, I had oysters like 3 times because the seafood there is another level. So yes, Seattle was an awesome. I didn't go to the top of the tower, the Pinconey, whatever
Space
it's called.
Needle.
That's it. Yeah, I didn't go to the top of that, so I didn't do the whole tourist thing. But the convention center is stunning. It's fresh and brand new.
Yes.
They've still got the old one. I don't know what they're going to do with that, but the new one is beautiful. It's a stunning venue.
So, did you get a chance to go see the Microsoft campus in Redmond?
Yeah, it's a huge. So I went to building 35. So clearly there are 35 buildings, and I think there's more than that probably. But again, I've been to the one here in the UK. They've got what's called Thames Valley Park, which is down in Reading, and they've got 5 or 6 buildings there. It's by Oracle, and but the one again, it's like a town. It's like a small city over in Redmond. So yeah, huge, and they're building a bunch of new ones as well. So they were doing a whole bunch of new buildings before COVID came in, and they're still going through that process. And I guess they're probably readjusting it now with the whole return to work piece. But yeah, massive, huge. Again, if it's like a pilgrimage, I guess. If you're into tech and you're into Microsoft, the home is Bill Gates was there one, and Wozniak and all those guys were there one day. You were walking the hallowed turf and car parks that those people walked on, I guess. So
Yeah, I'll tell you 2 old Microsoft stories that I don't think they'll mind me sharing because they're dated and they don't really count anymore. But many, 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 many years ago, I was a consultant for Microsoft. If you know anything about Microsoft, you got the blue badge, red badge thing. So I was a consultant. I was an employee, and I was asked to do a survey of what was going on over there. One of the things that they wanted to do was have all of their centers across the world be cohesive. And I was sitting in their lobby with the results of that report, about to recommend to them that they use some sort of tool like Yammer, and be able to communicate with each other. And that's when on my phone I noticed that they just bought Yammer. So that was an interesting experience. And the other thing was
did you buy a lottery ticket that same day?
Well, no. I was driving a rental car, which was really weird. It was the first time I was ever in a Kia Soul, which is like driving a tissue box with wheels. But anyway, the other thing that was interesting is they asked me to do like a sweep of some of their AV rooms to see what was working and what wasn't working, and give it some sort of areas. If you've been to Microsoft, and now you have, and a lot of people watching have been, it is a very secure campus. Oh, yeah. You walk into the building, you cannot get past the entrance of a building unless you've got a pass, unless they come see you, unless somebody comes with you. It's really interesting. So I took the person I was working for in the Kia Soul at the time, and I drove outside their senior VP's conference room, and I flicked on the radio and let him listen to the wireless microphones in the parking lot. You have no security requirement because you can just drive right up to any of the buildings. You just can't get into them. So I think they started using encrypted wireless microphones at that point. But
quite possibly. I couldn't get any Wi-Fi. The guest Wi-Fi, you can't. There's no like open guest Wi-Fi. You have to be like invited onto a certain reception and just go, I can't do some,
And remember, I'm talking like 10 years ago or so. Yeah. The security was not as big a deal as it is today. Security is a much bigger deal. So I would hope that they've kind of. I was instrumental in finding some holes in the Swiss cheese that they could button up. So that was a good thing. Yeah. So when am I going to see you next? That's a really difficult question to answer. I'm going to be in the US at LDI DSI, which you're obviously not going to. You don't do lighting.
But I do know someone who's going there. Yes, Schnick Schnack Systems. They'll be there. Solveig Bustler. She's amazing. Go and see her. She's awesome.
Well, Tim Albright and I will be there. So maybe we can.
There's my hint for him for LDI in Vegas. Go and see Solveig. They make the best LEDs in the world. And then shout out to her.
After that, I'm going to be at CES this year. I was a judge for CES this year. You can see over my shoulder the Innovation Awards. So I kind of feel a responsibility to be there and take a look at it. I may or may not be going to ISE. No, if everything stays the way it is right now, I'm not going to be going. But if an organization that wants me to go for them, I certainly would consider it. My calendar's available, which probably means the next one that's a lock, I assume, is you're coming over to Enterprise Connect, right?
Hopefully, yeah. We've got our Masters in Modern Work Summit, I believe, the week before in Orlando. So I will be in Orlando, hopefully, the week before. So it might be a 2-week stay in Orlando, maybe.
2 weeks in Florida. My gosh.
Yeah. There's nothing to do. There's no like theme parks or anything you can go to or anything. Florida's quite a boring place as far as I see it. It's just full of hot weather.
Strip mall, fast food as far as the eye can see.
Yeah, and
Um,
there's a little company that do cartoons, I think, isn't it called Disney? Is it?
yeah,
Got
I've
some
heard of
stuff out
them.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of feuding going on between them and the governor right now, and
Yeah, don't know. We're getting political now, so
yeah, no
let's
politics, no
let's not
politics.
go there. But so yeah,
So
I'm hoping for Enterprise Connect, and then obviously Infocom is Vegas this year again, so that should be interesting. So
absolutely. Well, I will see you at Enterprise Connect or Infocom,
mhm.
possibly ISE, but I'm not sure yet. And we'll kind of take it from there. So if somebody wants to reach out to you, ask you about what happened in your life, where you were, where you disappeared to, or where you appeared to and where I disappeared to, or whatever the heck they'd want to ask you, how would somebody reach out best to you?
So I put all my efforts into LinkedIn, and I don't know if that's a good thing. I can't do the whole. Too many social media networks. I'm trying to get into Instagram. I'm trying to get down with the kids. I did put my first TikTok out last week, which was interesting. But yeah, LinkedIn is really my home of nuisance making socially, and YouTube a bit. But yeah, LinkedIn. Go and find me on LinkedIn, Neil Fluester. You'll find me. Yeah, got a few
That's
followers.
awesome. And yeah, I'm concentrating on LinkedIn and Threads and Mastodon and Blue Sky. I'm staying away from the X Bird site because there's more than enough hate going on there.
Have you done a TikTok yet? Are you down with the TikTok?
I have to get a blood test to see if I'm young enough to do a TikTok.
And this is the
I think
thing.
I might be too old.
I know this whole stories and reel stuff. I'm not. I don't know. I don't really get it. I tried to do. I did a reel for going to Ignite, and it's like, did I do a reel or a story or a post? I don't know. What am I doing here? I don't
And
know.
the other thing, I don't know if you know about me, if you remember about me, I have a classical broadcast background,
Yeah,
broadcast
yeah.
engineering, and I can't get to holding a camera
I
like
know.
this. I
Yes,
have to hold it,
yes,
in,
yes.
in landscape. Portrait is just no,
Portrait
that's not
video.
how this works. You got to know.
Well, and also this whole like, oh, it's got to be 30 seconds. I can't talk for, I need like 4 minutes minimum. I can't do 30 seconds and get anything. I just waffle for like 2 minutes before I actually get any stuff out. So yeah. Uh,
We'll leave it for the kids.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Neil, thank you very much for joining me. And thank you for looking for us, finding us, and joining us here every week. We're going to have some really interesting guests coming up over the next couple of weeks. And like I said, we'll be at LDI, DSI, and CES. So a lot of cool things. We'll see you next week. Thanks very much.